So my computer is finally working again, my webcam. So I got these cool little flying things around here. Anyway, this is part two of what's the real true religion in Japan, as if there's anything true and real in this world or in Japan. But anyway, we'll try to make it real. Okay, so I was gonna give you the punchline of that story that I was talking about when all the contractors from Wake Island came down to the beach, and I kind of reeled past it because I didn't think you guys were ready for it. But anyway, here it goes. So if you read the book Wake Island, and I can't remember what the subtitle is exactly, but something about prison camps in Niigata. The author's grandfather was one of the Wake Island contractors. So they were mostly all civilian contractors to build a base on Wake Island. And they get to the beach of Niigata, which was where I live, and my wife's family's from, and my ex-wife's family's from. And they take all the people out on this dock, and they ask all the guys with red hair to come to the front of the line. And they tell them to bow down to all the people that are waiting on the beach, so they all do that. And while they're bowing down, these 4 or 5 guys with swords just whoosh, lob off their heads, and all the people on the beach just start wah, Nihon, Nihon. Like Japan's so great because we can chop off redheads who aren't even military people. But anyway, that's the cult of Japan, and it's still going on. It just went underground. So if you read the book The Underworld, which the authors, according to one of my deeply insider co-workers, told me he had to leave Japan after he wrote that book. He wrote the book Wa too. I haven't read that one yet. I just finished the Underworld one about the Yakuza and the American allegiance with them. So this whole culture of Japan, which is cult, is C-U-L-T. That's what all cultures are, cults. Culture of Japan is the religion of Japan, which is I talked about in the last video section the Confucianism coming from, and Confucianism is all about rankism. So you can call it rankism or you can call it Confucianism, which is the dad's the boss in the family. The older brother's more important than the younger brother. Girls are not important at all, so just kill them, which is what they do in China if they're only can have one child. That's why there's too many boys now, and there's not enough girls, and they're having a serious problem there now. Anyway, that one child policy was really stupid. It just caused a lot of people to get abortions if they knew they had a girl. And then if some of them were lucky to have another kid, they had a boy, then they kept it. So there's all these boys and there's no girls now, or very few. Okay, so this Confucian idea, that's not the one-child policy, has nothing to do with Confucianism, but this idea that the boys are better than girls, and everything is rankism. So whoever's on the top of whatever totem pole you're in, which most people it's their shigoto, which is their work. So your boss is, you bow down to them. They tell you to come in on Saturday or Sunday to work, and they tell you to work overtime and just do it for the team and don't expect overtime pay. You just do it because that's Japanese. That's the cult of Japan. And any cult, in order for you to not know you're in a cult and to be hypnotized by the cult, the most important thing is to keep you from sleeping. So when I was in NSA, which is Nichiren Shoshu of America, now it's SGI, it's a lot better, SGI USA. Once we got excommunicated, that was our liberation from the cult of Japan, pretty much. I really liked the what do you call him? The general director of NSA. He was a really cool guy, but his ways were very fascistic. He really liked military people. He liked generals and stuff. He was all into that stuff. And his whole way of thinking was about he was actually Korean, which is a lot of the Japanese that are very famous, the most famous Japanese are actually not Japanese at all. They're Korean. But anyway, George M. Williams, and I won't go into what his name was as a Japanese, or his name was as a Korean, because it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I knew him as George M. Williams. I used to be always in the front row of the brass band. I was in the Royal Prince. Before that, I was in the advanced brass band, which always performed at every general meeting, which we did every December. we did the year-end general meeting. I would sit in the very front row. George M. Williams would be right on the stage, and he would always be like trying to keep me from falling asleep. He'd be like doing jokes at me and stuff. So he would do stuff like someone would sneeze and he would go, "Oh, God bless you. Oh, Buddha bless you too." Just he would purposely do really nice jokes. He was a great guy. Although there was many things that needed to change about that, because the whole NSA, we called it Never Sleep Again, which was basically the cult of Japan. So if you can get you to work and work and work and work, or walk, whatever you want to call it. It's walk? I don't know. It sounds the same in Japanese. Work and walk sounds like walk. Okay, so we can keep you walking, and you never sleep. You'll never realize you're in a cult. That's the whole idea. That's why we call NSA Never Sleep Again. It had nothing to do with Buddhism whatsoever. It had everything to do with Japan, and I didn't realize that until 7 or 8 years into the new SGI USA. It's totally become normal. We didn't do these washoi, go every day like Japanese do. We started to be normal people. We started to hang out with our families. We didn't have to go to meetings every night. We didn't have to do statistics every other day. We didn't have to have a area leaders meeting, then have a chapters leaders meeting, then have a district leaders meeting, then have a group leaders meeting, because we can all do it in one meeting. We just all got together. Every leader's invited. If you're not a leader, you're still invited too, but you know, it's just a round table discussion with all the leaders in the region. We did it as a region. It was really nice. Mr. Stopchek was there before he passed away. All the great leaders of Orange County were there. It was a really great group meeting, and it was open discussion. That's the way Buddhism should be, and that's the way SGI always was trying to be with Daisaku Ikeda's guidance, but no one ever followed him. They just listened to one ear and went out the other. So if you go back and read his guidance in the 1970s, he talked all about the same thing. Leaders are not important. Leaders are just here to serve the members. But the thing is, the cult of Japan has always put the person on the top of the pyramid as the most important, and everyone bows down to them. So even though President Ikeda said, "Don't do that," that is not Buddhism. That is not what you're supposed to do. That's the cult of Japan does that. So people didn't understand. Oh yeah, he's saying this, but it's just words, because we are Japanese. We know what we're doing. But so they were actually teaching how to be Japanese. And I didn't realize that until I came to Japan and moved to Japan in 2004. First came to study in Japan, and then I moved to Japan in 2005. And it was like NSA all over again. I was like, and it wasn't Buddhism. It was at the schools. So I was in what the commentators in Japan call the castration concentration camps, otherwise known as the junior high schools of Japan. So I worked for 2 different concentration camps in Sendai. And when I used that word, castration concentration camps, that wasn't my word. That was Japanese commentators from Japan talking about the Japanese school system and how it just totally destroys the individuality of the person by cutting off their dick. They called it castration, but not really cutting off their dick. That's just metaphorical. But cutting off all their initiative and making them, put them in a group, and group think is what you do. You have to go by what the group thinks. And you're in that group from Ichinensei, first year, you're in that group. Ninensei, you do everything in your group. You're in that group. Sanensei, first year, second year, third year, which is in America would be 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. In Japan, they have elementary up to 6th grade. From 1st to 6th grade, the kids are wild. They wear their own clothes. They don't wear military uniforms. They don't stand at Kyotsuke in line. They just normal kids. They're wild. They're creative, imaginative. They ask questions. The 6th graders started getting a little dosed up with too much testosterone or progesterone in their system. But anyway, they're not fully over the hill. So most cults in other countries, 13 is the time about where you totally go opposite. Like in the cults of New Zealand, which is I forget what they're called now. Anyways, sleep. They did this whole abusive practice, which they don't call abusive. So that's my culture of America would call what they did abusive. So everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. I was grown up in a cult called America. So I am now outside of that cult because I'm in exile in Japan, in Niigata, close to Sado Island. But I still recognize everything I was grown up into America as a cult, because all cults are all cultures are cults. Read the works of Joseph Chilton Pierce to find out why I'm saying that. That's not my idea, but I think I understanding why he's calling it that, and I'm willing to buy into that point of view for this video. Okay, I don't have any beliefs. All beliefs are limitations, so I have awarenesses. And my awareness now is showing that he might be right on this idea that all cults are cultures. All cultures are cults. Okay, so the cult of Japan, the religion of Japan, Shigotoism, you can call it hierarchyism. So this is the idea of Japan. The person on the top is the most important. So it's rankism. Shigotoism, rankism, Confucius rankism, whatever you want to call it. Yakuza, which is the underworld of Japan, illegal government, is what happened when this system was now taken over by a contract, which is what the government of Japan is. It's a contract with the American government when in the occupation to form a constitution, which is a contract, to create a fictitious entity called the nation of Japan, which before it was a religion. It was a cult, because the emperor was on the top, and you did what the emperor said, even though he was being pulled by many strings too, because there's always secret people behind every shadow man, like the man behind the curtain. Anyway, so the emperor was the boss, and they thought he was a god. And this whole idea did I bring my drink? See, when I'm starting to really talk about the serious shit, my throat just wants to clog up, because I don't know if you guys are ready for all this stuff I'm going to say. But anyway, I'm going to say it anyway, just because Gandhi taught me speak out, think out loud. The Confucianist cult says to think 7 times before you say a word, which is good in some cases, but if you're limiting everything you want to say because you're afraid of what people's rejection of you, which is because anyone who judges you, they are trying to create separation. It's a false notion. There's no such thing as separation. There was only oneness. Like in Buddhism, we have oneness of life and the environment, Eshofuni. Oneness of mentor and disciple, Shitefuni. Oneness of mind and body, Shikishinfuni. Funi is not two. There is no such thing as two. We are all oneness. So, in order for people to have this false notion of separation, they have to go into judgment of you. If you're ever being an energy, which I'm being right now, if any of you guys are pushing I don't like, or I'm going to switch to the next movie about some girl with big boobs playing a guitar who doesn't know how to sing well, but she has 50 million hits because some of the comments say, I love these comments. I've been watching your videos for 4 hours, but I just noticed the sound was off. These are singers with the big chicks boobs. And I should get some of those. Maybe I'll sell more of my videos. Anyway, my boobs are not that big though. I can get an implant or something. But anyway, they're a little hairy too. I gotta start shaving my boobs again. I used to pluck them. Anyway, we're getting off subject because we needed some comic relief for the heaviness of my throat contracting because I'm about to say things I didn't think I'd ever say on a video. Anyway, okay, so the religion of Japan is basically the man on the top is in charge. Now, who is the man on the top in Japan? It's not the prime minister. It's not any of the people you think it is, because the Yakuza, which the reason why Daisaku Ikeda started the Clean Government Party, which is Komeito, trying to clean up the corruption. The Japanese government is so fucking corrupt. And it's because it's a cult. And the cult of power is nationalism. That is the cult of power according to Daisaku Ikeda's book I started to read at the first section of this video or another video. I can't remember which one. Anyway, do I have it over? Oh, I have it behind me on the wall there. Anyway, I won't get into that one. We'll get into that one maybe another day. Maybe there's a part 3 to this discussion. We'll see. So the cult of power is nationalism. That's the religion of Japan, but it has to be defined in many different other terms like rankism. But who's really in charge is all shadow. So the government has all these bribes they have to pay off to all these Yakuza bosses and all these Yakuza people to get out the vote. So if you think, you wonder why, oh, everyone in my neighborhood voted for the other party, but somehow the LDP came into power. It's because your votes didn't get counted, or they stuffed a lot of other people's votes in there that didn't really exist. Because the only reason the LDP has been in power forever until right before Fukushima, and then Fukushima happened, you wonder, is that a quinky dink? I don't know. A lot of people say it is. I'm not going to get into that yet because I don't have the full awareness on that one. So I don't have any beliefs. I have all the awarenesses. So what I'm telling you now is all awarenesses. It's not beliefs. Beliefs can be changed. These are awarenesses I'm having. They might change in 10-second increments. I might have a new awareness tomorrow. Okay, so I'm just telling you what my awareness is. I'm thinking out loud, which Gandhi said is the way to come to your true self, is to think out loud. And then you can find out which awarenesses are not true and which are true. But if you're constantly trying to limit what you say based on what other people are willing to accept, you're never going to speak your truth. So you're going to always be shutting out what's real in your mind and your heart. Okay, so that's why I'm speaking out loud for this, and sometimes my throat will get clogged up when I start speaking out loud. So anyway, this book, The Underworld of Japan, subtitled This American Mafia Guy in Tokyo, Nikolai. He was the first one to open a pizza parlor after spending 7 years in prison because he helped steal jewelry, which he said, his wife said, no, I was the one who bought it and I didn't know they were stolen. Anyway, that's how he got off the hook. Luckily, his wife was very beautiful. Anyway, he had 4 Japanese wives. I'm on my second, so I don't think I'm going to try to stay up with him. Anyway, he died miserable and wretched because he tried to hold on to his American cult in Japan and not recognize the cult of Japan and try to give way to some of the cult ideas that are, some are good, some are bad. There's no good or bad. There's no right or wrong. It just is. So anyway, you can change it. You can create a new reality instead of having to defend and change this reality, which I'm doing. I'm creating a new reality. If you noticed on my radio show, if you call into my radio show, it's a new reality. It's not this reality, because we don't need to defend and save this reality anymore because it doesn't work. Okay, so getting back to this cult of Japan power, like when I go to work parties, when I was back in the concentration camps, aka junior high schools, I worked 2 of them in Sendai. I worked at like 10 of them in Niigata before I finally retired from the 5 years on the JET program, Japanese Exchange Teaching Program, which is they came from the consulate of Los Angeles embassy, not the embassy. Yeah, the Tokyo embassy is in, I think it's a Japanese embassy or consulate in Los Angeles. Anyways, they recruited me to work for the Japanese government like they do every year. They recruit like 7,000 people from the U.S. to work for the concentration camps, aka junior high schools. Okay, so when I first get to these concentration camps, they're all wearing military uniform. They're all like, tuck in your shirt. Oh my God. And they're like telling me, these kids are bad. This kid tried to put no, I don't even think any of them have put an earring. But I was really bad because I almost got kicked out of my junior high school because I had 1 pierce. So my vice principal, Mrs. McGrory, called in my mom, and my mom said, does girls at your school have earrings? And she said, yeah. She said, well, why should my son not be able to have earrings? Isn't that sexism? And Mrs. McGrory, I don't know exactly. I can't remember. You know, I was 12 or 13 at the time, so I don't remember the exact conversation. That's just what went through my mind at the time. My mom. Wow, that was a Freudian slip. My wife. I call my wife my mom now. Okay, that's Freudian, really. You marry your mom. Anyway, in Japan, moms and dads, once they get pregnant, start calling Papa and Mama. So I call my wife Mama. She calls me Papa. Anyway, because we're all Team Rosina. Luckily, we're not so into the cult. We think our children are more important than the head of the hierarchy, because I don't wear the pants in the family because my wife does. Anyway, that's a long story. So luckily, my wife is very much indoctrinated in the cult of Japan, but she's She's a rebel within the cult, and she thinks she's the man, and I'm the woman. I'm the bitch. Anyway, I serve her. That's why I'm wearing this robe. No, I'm just joking. Anyway, okay, so that's probably all I want to talk about the cult of Japan today. It's a rankism. So in the junior high schools, when we had year-end parties, when we go to eat, all the senseis, all the teachers, sit around the table, and the Kocho sensei and the Kyoto sensei. Kocho's the top head guy. Kyoto's this vice principal and the principal. Anyway, everyone listens to what the fucking Kocho says and the Kyoto sensei says, regardless of their conversation is the stupidest conversation, and each person's paid $30 or $40 to go all you can eat, all you can drink party. So I didn't like to go to these parties after a while because I don't want to pay $40, $50. Actually, it was 30. Yeah, it was about $50 at the time because the yen was higher. But it's about 3,000 to 4,000 yen to go all you can eat, all you can drink. But you can't eat or drink because the fucking Kocho sensei or Kyoto sensei just keeps fucking just talking bullshit, and everyone laughs like, it's funny. And the food is getting cold in front of you, and no one will fucking eat the food except me. I'm just like, fucking fuck the Kyoto. I don't know what the fuck he's saying. I'm eating everything. All the other Japanese teachers are like, you can't do that, man. The boss is talking. Like, he's not my fucking boss. I work for the fucking... That was the coolest thing about being an ALT is I don't work for him. I worked for Gakocho or Shidoka. Shidoka is the BOE, the Board of Education. So I didn't really take any shit from the Kocho sensei, Kyoto sensei. So I was in the cult, but outside of the cult at the same time. But all the people that were in the cult, like the teachers, like, don't eat any food. The boss is talking. I'm like, the fucking food's getting cold. I paid $40. I'm gonna fucking eat it. And I'm fucking eating it. I'm drinking. And I'm like pushing the button, calling, can I get another whiskey sour or whatever? I forget. They always had like these mixed drinks that were watered down. Anyway, I just kept drinking, getting drunk, and fucking eating all the food the teachers didn't eat because I'm not in their cult. They can fucking worship the guy on top. I'm not fucking worshiping anybody. Except worshiping you because you're my YouTube subscriber. And I'm worshiping myself because we are a oneness, because we are equal. There's no, I'm not higher than you, you're not higher than me. In my religion, which is Soka Gakkai, Makaguchi, Toda, President Ikeda, we're all equal to them. There's no, that's why it's called Shitefuni, which is the oneness of mentor and disciple. There's no separation. There's no hierarchy in Buddhism. So all this idea of NSA, Nichiren Shoshu America, was actually teaching the cult of Japan, which is rankism. So I was reading as a 13-year-old back in America when I was doing, actually 13 or 14-year-old, when I was doing TCD, which is Traffic Control District now, which is called Sokohan, which is directing the cars where to park at the community center. And I was reading President Ikeda's youthful diary, which said, leaders in the Soka Gakkai should never get special privileges. And then there was 2 or 3 senior leader parking, special parking. I would tell them the TCD chief, which we were all into rankism back then. I told the chief, howdy to the chief. Daisaku Ikeda says there's no special privileges for parking, so why am I reserving these 2 parking for the senior leaders? There's no special privileges. And I would purposely park people, and they would get mad at me. It's just a rebel kid. I was a punk rocker there. I had 4 earrings at the time. Where was it? Over here. So I got 1 earring. I was going into that idea, my vice principal. So I got 3 more. I did them at school because one of the girls I thought was really cute. She said, you didn't really do that by yourself. I said, yes, I did. Watch, give me one of your earrings. And I took one of her earrings and went, pap, right there in PE class. And I kept her earring because I thought, yeah, that's my first girlfriend, even though I was too shy to kiss her. But anyway, I took her earring and I wore her earring with pride. I took it from, I don't even remember whose name it was. One of the cute girls. I had so many crushes on so many girls, but too much testosterone in my system. I never acted upon it because I was just like bouncing off the wall. Anyway, that's how most of the kids are when they get thrown from elementary school in Japan, which is all freedom, into the concentration camps where they put on this Kyotsuke military uniform and they have to tuck in their shirt. And if their shirt comes out untucked, like, tuck in your shirt! Tuck in your shirt! And then they have to come into the school office. And they go, I'm vomiting in class. I need to go to the nurse's office. And they say, dummy! you're supposed to say your name and your serial number and all that stuff like they're in the fucking military. They're not supposed to say their serial number, but they have to say, you never say your name first. Like if you work for Sony, I'm Sony no Kobayashi. Means I'm Sony's Kobayashi. I'm not myself because I work for the company. The company's more important to me. So I'm Soko Daigaku Ikisei, whatever, first year graduate of the Soga University of America. Like that's some kind of big thing. And anyway, in Japan it is because that's like the number one, top of the boss. That's on the top of the. That's all rankism. I don't believe in any of that shit. Anyway, so I'm also a magna cum laude graduate of the Real or Imagined Rika Zimmerman School of Access Consciousness. Excommunicated or decertified access consciousness facilitators. But anyway, I'm also Russell Brand School of Stand Down Comedy alumnus too. Okay, but anyway, I'm not all into that rankism. Anyways, I'm just Tim. Just call me Tim. Okay, but anyway, you can call me Major Tim too if you listen to my radio program. It's called Major Tim to Ground Control. That's just my post-humorous name. Okay. So this is what the rankism in Japan. Everything on the top is most important. So they have to go to school. They have to say, I'm in Nikumi, which is number 2 group. Ichinensei, Ichinensei Nikumi, which means I'm in the first year. I'm in the second group, which is the second class. So, Ichinensei Nikumi no Kobayashi desu. And then, okay, now you can tell me that you're throwing up and you need to go to the nurse's office because I don't care what you're doing. If you don't get your fucking Aisatsus right, go back to the fucking class and study and get your Aisatsus right because the most important thing is how you tell your rank, your serial number. You're in the military. This is the army. You got a military uniform. That's what the whole Japanese system is. So anyway, I'll talk to more about it later on, but you don't want to send your kids to junior high school. If you're like my daughter is going to be soon going to elementary school. I'll let her go through elementary school and get her the fuck out of here because I don't want her to go to junior high school in Japan because it's a fucking concentration camp. And they castrate them. So after junior high school, the kids don't ask questions. I teach university classes, and the university kids, it's like, do you have any questions? No. There's no questions. Okay. They just want to be lectured to after that because they're just like, they've been castration camp already. They're not going to go back there. Because they're afraid if they get out of line, they're going to send them back to castration concentration camps, which is junior high school, and they're going to get them to death. Anyway, that's enough. So the Yakuza run Japan. If you read this book, it's the government's not really in charge. So the reason why that is because the whole rankism was destroyed by the Japanese Constitution, which is the fake government that doesn't really exist. And the Yakuza, everyone who was in the hierarchy went underground and became illegal, which is what underworld is. But they still has the same rankism there, man. If you screw with the guy above you, you're gonna cut your thumb off, cut your pinky off, and you're gonna suffer for it. Or you're gonna have to do the stick your sword in your little hand sword in there and go like that, which is what a lot of the bosses in Japan, when they make a mistake, they have to do. Because that's still the cult of Japan. It's still rankism. It's still bow down to the false authority, which is the idea of we are superior beings because we are from the land of the gods. That's basically what Japanese is brainwashed into believing. So they think they are better than everyone else. But not everyone. But that's still the cult within the hierarchy, within the secret cabal government, which is underground Yakuza. So anyway, some of the people have slowly evolved out of the cult programming, but it still exists, and it still is very powerful. And the further you go away from civilization into the small backwards parts of Japan, the more you'll actually experience it. So anyway, that's all for today. Signing off. Peace out.